How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Grip Lock, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined by Trevor, and we'll be joined by Connor for the Silas Selects segment. But the rest of the show, he's going to be editing, so my apologies to all you diehard Con fans. But if you want to see a video tomorrow, you're not going to see Connor today.
Stay tuned for his exclusive podcast.
Yeah, stay tuned for his exclusive podcast. I was going to name it, but I decided not to.
It's yet to be titled.
Yeah, it's true. It's the Connor Proto podcast.
Yeah.
Yet to be titled, but it's PDGA approved now.
Yes.
It's the KKPP.
Careful. Okay.
KKPP.
Oh!
The Connor Kennedy Proto podcast.
You're off to a good start.
The KKPP. Before we get into today's episode, let's talk about our sponsor. Did you know that one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, it's the most common form of cancer among men ages 15 to 35, and April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, which is why I want to take a second to talk about men's health issues that are important to me. And with the men's health and hygiene in mind, Manscaped has partnered with Testicular Cancer Society, an amazing registered 501c3 nonprofit organization. Manscaped is putting action behind their words and donating $50,000 to Testicular Cancer Society to help save lives and promote routine self-checks. Manscaped also just dropped a special edition bundle that helps support this amazing cause. The TCS, Testicular Cancer Society, Ball Hero bundle includes the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra TCS Special Edition and the Special Edition TCS Boxers 2.0. So you can join the over 12 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code GRIPLOCKED for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. First in this bundle, we have the Special Edition TCS Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra that rocks a brand new purple design in honor of testicular cancer awareness. And this trimmer is next level. It's both cordless and waterproof, making trimming a breeze. It features dual skin-safe blade heads, now accompanied by an updated trimmer blade and an interchangeable foil blade for enhanced performance. And once you're done grooming, you deserve to feel comfortable, and that's where the Special Edition TCS Boxers 2.0 come in, featuring a brand new purple camo look.
The purple is sick.
They're designed to be anti-chafing, high-performance boxer briefs that are stylish and functional, but the real game changer is the jewel pouch design, which is a dedicated space crafted to cradle and support you with breathable perforated fabric, because comfort matters. It even includes a special reminder to check yourself for testicular cancer, because looking after the boys means more than just comfort. And here's the best part. By ordering the Manscaped TCS Ball Hero bundle, you're helping raise awareness for testicular cancer, and every purchase helps spread the life-changing message. But hurry. There's a limited supply, so these special edition products won't last long. So get your bundle with supplies last, and let's help raise awareness for testicular cancer together. So get 20% off and free shipping with promo code GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. Again, that's promo code one word GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. And you can visit manscaped.com/TCS to learn more about how to check yourself and make a donation to the TC Society today to save lives. This past week, the Music City Open went down, and we were actually down there in Nashville.
That's not possible.
It is possible.
We couldn't have seen it.
Well, we didn't watch anything. We were just in Nashville.
We were just there.
Yeah, we were just present. What we did watch were the tornado warnings that we thought were going to cancel the tournament, but it ended up being fine.
It felt like when you're in Mario Kart and you're in the lead and you keep hearing that meh, 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 like blue shell coming up on you. That's what it felt like in our hotel room.
To clarify, when I say be fine, I'm not talking about the storm. The tournament was able to go off without a hitch. The storm caused massive devastation. It was a brutal storm. It just happened to not hit Nashville. Well, it hit Nashville, but it came in Wednesday night, and then by the time the tournament started, it was basically gone.
It's nothing short of a miracle that this tournament happened to completion.
And then Saturday,
with a cut.
Saturday they did have to cut the round short and finish Sunday morning, and they cut at the cash line in both MPO and FPO to make it happen. But props to the Pro Tour, because they were able to get 3 rounds off at a course that on Thursday when the match play was canceled, hole 1 and 16 was a lake.
They were underwater.
Legitimately underwater.
They actually brought in mulch.
They were. I think one of the big things was the drainage into the river was clogged up, and they cleared that, and then all the water started to drain. But
it was impressive because it was absolutely playable the next day. It was squishy, but it wasn't. I wasn't walking around like, oh my gosh, can you believe they're putting these guys through? It's good job.
There were some situations where you had to throw a standstill. You might not have wanted to, but it was completely playable.
And because you were think back to I think it was Idlewild years back where guys were slipping all over the place, putting down things to stand on.
Yeah.
There's been worse.
Oh,
honestly.
for sure. So very impressive. We actually met the guy who does the course maintenance out there. It's impressive they have a tournament out there, period. He was telling me that he mows this entire property, him and his buddy, with a 0 turn. coming in. And like, if you've seen this place, I don't know if it comes through on camera, but like the rest of the year, this property is basically just used for events here and there. It's a massive property, and he has to like mow it basically every day for a month straight leading up to this tournament. So mad props to him and his whole team, because A, they got this event to happen because the weather just somehow missed, and B, for the property to be in as good a condition as it was, considering the circumstances, very impressive.
Well, if they had this tournament like 2 weeks later into grass growing season, they'd be cooked.
Yeah.
Because it would just be overwhelming out there.
Oh, for sure. And going into this tournament, really the first thing we got to talk about is disc golf has went viral again. So this all started when Abigail Wilson basically made a statement and then DNF'd, or DNS'd because she didn't start the tournament on Friday, and went viral. So basically she got on the first tee, and as it was her turn to tee, she turned to the crowd and said,
everybody out first.
Yeah, she lined up a shot and then turned around to the crowd and said, "Females must be protected in our division. This is unfair, and I refuse to play." She then grabbed her bag and walked off the course and DNF'd. The video of this was then posted to an account. Well, it was posted on her account and also a few different accounts, but the account that really made it go kind of mainstream was an account on Twitter called Libs of TikTok. And that video on that Twitter account now has over 3 million views. And what's really kicked off the virality of this thing, other videos have started to be posted on Twitter and also go viral. The one that's the biggest was Natalie Ryan and Kristen Tatar's playoff for the MVP Open a little bit ago. Was reposted by very large conservative accounts on Twitter and has gained over 7 million views. Just one iteration of it I saw was at 6.8 million, and then I saw a few other that were over 200,000. So it's over 7 million views on Twitter, which has led to several articles and stuff, including Fox News picked it up. They wrote an article titled "Woman's Disc Golfer Refused to Face Transgender Competitor Days After Fencer Kneels in Protest," which obviously the fencer happened a little bit earlier, which I think is kind of why this thing spiraled 1-2. So this comes because this was Natalie Ryan's first return to the FPO division and to the Pro Tour after a surgery recovery. And this is kind of just obviously blown up into a very big news story, national news story at this point. And so I just kind of wanted to cover it all. Abigail posted and she posted it on Instagram, and I believe this is from the Fox article, but I believe this was from her caption. "Today I refuse to play the Music City Open. Females deserve to have their gender protected. Division be protected. This is unfair. I have worked so hard to get to this point to play on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but the sacrifice of my career and my hard work is worth it if it means I can make a difference for other women, daughters, nieces, in the future of our sport. If you feel how wrong it is to have biological males be competing in female protected division in sports, now is the time to speak up and stand your ground." And I believe this is a statement to Fox News. "I took the stand today because I was having anxiety about playing with the openly trans player on tour because of the planned protests for this year and the threats of violence at the event last year," which, pause here, what Abigail's referencing is, if you remember Music City Open last year, there was the round, I believe it might have been round 2, but there was actually a delay because of a violence threat against Natalie Ryan, and the whole event had to be shut down. And this is when the first time we actually saw bag checks at the Disc Golf Pro Tour, which when at that point we were like, why was that not happening before, basically. So that's what Abigail's referencing here. "After speaking with a member of the DGPT staff yesterday, they made it clear that they would be unwilling to change me to an earlier tee time when regarding my fear of safety on the course. They assured me that there would be bag checks, police, and security at the event. Upon arriving this morning, there was no security or police presence. I was also allowed entry even though I did not have my credentials. There was zero security precautions." Which we can pause there because we can speak to this. Zero security. At one point, I got there at 7 a.m., which would have been before. This is actually Friday morning, funny enough. I got there at 7 a.m., which would have been an hour and a half before any FPOT times because I was helping set up the vending booth. There was police presence at the course. I will say the checking pass entry point was rather lax as far as we were able to get in. We stopped and showed our media badges. They actually didn't know what a media badge was. We had to explain oh no, we're good to get in with these. Hello. But at the same time, Brody didn't have his pass on him, and he just walked behind us and got in. So I will admit to that side. But bag check wise,
they were doing bag checks. Yeah. We didn't have any bags. So
we didn't have bags, so we didn't have to experience
that. They had a guy at a table
that.
running through bags.
But there were police there. There was a gate you had to go through. There were bags being checked. And there was definitely police presence. So I'm not going to say completely dispute it because, again, like I said, Brody didn't have his pass with him, and we were like, well, we can explain it to him. And while we were checking it, Brody just walked in, and it wasn't like Brody was like, "I'm going to pull it over." You could say there
was a light presence overall.
It was a light presence.
It was there, but I'm not going to say that it felt like you
weren't going through metal detectors.
Yeah,
and such.
It's fair to say you might not have felt the safest human on earth.
Absolutely,
but there was definitely an effort.
Yeah, I will disagree with her. There were zero security precautions. I'll disagree with that statement.
Yeah,
there were some. I will agree with her that like could it have been much more? Absolutely, because there was also. You could walk around too. There was also like a lot of vendors were loading and unloading from this like little orange fence that was like ankle high, and people were just walking over that. Right. I don't think general admission were walking in and out, but vendors were, and it wouldn't. If someone wanted to do something dangerous there, it wouldn't have been hard to get it. It's also a giant public field, so there was also unlikeliness that it would have just came through that gate. The Disc Golf Pro Tour though has disputed Wilson's allegations about security and. She also added that she said, "Today I most likely ended my career, and that's okay because this is bigger than me." The Disc Golf Pro Tour released their own statement. So the Disc Golf Pro Tour first off said they support the right of all competitors to protest and have their voices heard, and no disciplinary action, official or otherwise, is being taken from yesterday's protest. No rules or policies were violated. So in regards to Abigail saying that she is like willing to sacrifice her career for this, it's not the Pro Tour telling her, because you did this, you're never allowed to play again.
Right.
It might be a situation, I don't know if that's necessarily what she was saying, but it might be a situation where she's saying, I'm willing to never play disc golf until this is corrected.
I think it's more so what
that's
she meant,
how
honestly.
I interpreted it, but some people are interpreting it as the Pro Tour saying, because you did this, you're never allowed to play again, which the Pro Tour is saying, that's not what we're saying.
And when you protest, there are always implications, too. Like, companies may shy away from you, things like that. So, I think...
It was a big risk for her to protest. Absolutely. And the Pro Tour says they support the right of all competitors to protest and have their voices heard. So the Pro Tour supports her First Amendment right. Ahead of this protest, the tour was asked to move Miss Wilson to a different tee time because she did not want to compete with another player on her assigned card. And one policy that applies to everyone is that the tour does not accommodate change requests once tee times are published. That's a PDGA rule. So that also, I can back up, that is true of like once the tee time, the only cards that are set are feature cards. They're set for coverage. Everything else is randomized. And then once tee times are out, they can't be adjusted.
Yeah.
So that's a PDGA rule. Then Disc Golf Pro Tour also said security resources were in place for all cards yesterday, including Miss Wilson's, and she was informed that playing groups would remain the same. Before the event, the DGPT also responded to Miss Wilson to address concerns she may have about security of the event and informed her of her security plan. In addition to private security personnel, which was off-duty police officers providing security that morning, a number of additional security staffs were assigned to Miss Wilson's tee time, and it was information was shared with Miss Wilson before the event, and the tour received no security concerns from her on Friday morning upon her arrival and during interactions with the DGPT's Director of Safety and Security, Seth Muncie.
I didn't know that Muncie had that role now.
Yeah, he's had it for a few years.
Oh, really?
Because he's also the guy that's over, because what falls under that too is the weather calls.
I didn't even know. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew obviously the stuff he was doing with like all the PT stuff. I didn't know he had moved into that role. Maybe I did.
Because we talked to the event director, not even about this. We were just talking to him in general, and he pointed out that they even upped the security this year and brought in, he called them plainclothes, but basically undercover security officers. So there were people out there in the gallery that were off-duty police officers or so on and so forth.
Well, and one thing too, I know in the past there were complaints about emergency plans and such, but I can say as media, we were sent documents that outlined all of their like emergency plans. Okay, what if there's severe weather? What if there is some kind of dangerous situation? All that. So that there is plans in place, and like I said, at the end of it, there can always be more resources thrown into security, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day, the tour operates on a pretty shoestring budget. I'm at least glad they put it in effort, but I also don't disagree that there's going to be, if you're worried about something happening, like you had every reason to be worried about it no matter what.
For sure. So I do want to though, because first off, 100% support Abigail Wilson's right to protest what she did. I think that she was obviously it worked. She drew national attention to this issue of competitive fairness within disc golf. I do want to remind disc golfers, because I don't believe, I could be wrong, I haven't spoken to Abigail, I don't believe her intention was to come after the Pro Tour / the PDGA and say, why aren't you doing anything? Right. I believe it was more just saying, I don't feel comfortable competing in an environment that I believe is not competitively fair to me. The response, a lot of it has turned on the PDGA / the Pro Tour saying, why don't you do something? And in that, I feel a little bad for the PDGA / Pro Tour, mainly because they did, if you remember. If you're newer to disc golf, you might not remember, but if you take it back a few years ago, the Pro Tour / PDGA polled really the whole fan base, but specifically the players, decided, hey, we need to defend competitive fairness in the FPO division, and they went on, and basically at that point there was like different divisions and stuff like that. They went through this whole plan that led into discrimination lawsuits that had a bunch of alleged stuff both ways, and the Pro Tour / PDGA fought it in multiple states. And at the end of the day, what really was going on was Natalie Ryan and Natalie Ryan's legal team was the one basically heading up these lawsuits, and they were funded from different organizations. From my understanding, I could be wrong there, but from my understanding, they were funded from organizations that had much deeper pockets than the PDGA or the Pro Tour, and the PDGA and the Pro Tour were funding the lawsuits themselves to defend competitive fairness and what was competitively fair in their eyes. And in doing so, it basically reached a point where, again, I'm having to recall a lot of this from years ago, but from my understanding, it reached a point where if the Pro Tour / the PDGA were to continue fighting these lawsuits, it could have bankrupted the pro side of the scene as we know it. So it could have ended up putting the Pro Tour and the PDGA underwater. And in my opinion, I just don't think this is / was disc golf's fight to fight, especially back then. Nowadays, there is more precedent being set, and I'm sure when this does come up again, if the Disc Golf Pro Tour / the PDGA decides to try to defend competitive fairness again, if they, like, once there is more precedent from other sports and more evidence within disc golf of whatever competitive fairness allegation that's going back and forth, then it might be a little bit of an easier legal battle. But at the end of the day, I do just want to remind people that the PDGA / the Pro Tour, they did do something. And they did something to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it basically, the settlement came from my understanding of, if we continue down this road and more lawsuits, because each lawsuit was like a state-by-state basis, if we continue down this road and more lawsuits keep getting thrown at us, it could bankrupt the PDGA or the Pro Tour or both, which then obviously who wins there? So it was, I don't, do you think the PDGA or the Pro Tour could have done more? Maybe. You can have that opinion for sure, but I did want to at least address the people whose opinion was, why are the Pro Tour / the PDGA not doing anything? Well, they're in a settlement right now because they tried to do something and threw a lot of money at doing something. And so, again, not coming after Abigail Wilson and what she did, but because I think that she was more saying she was protesting what she felt was unfair in that moment, which is she has every right to do so, all of that. I don't think she was necessarily saying she's protesting the Pro Tour organization, why aren't you doing something? But some of the comments and the way it's been taken is going after the Pro Tour, which I don't feel is fully fair, just simply because the Pro Tour did do something. So Abigail Wilson, fully has the right. I think she did exactly what she wants to do, where she's getting national attention on it. She has the right to protest. The Pro Tour even backs up that right. And, I think that she did it in a respectful way, where she got on the first tee, she made her stance, she walked off the course, and that was that. And so, I do think, though, that some people have taken that and going after the Pro Tour and the PDGA. And also, again, the Pro Tour hasn't said you can never play again. They defended her right to protest. She is still able to play at whatever Pro Tour event she would like to, if she would like to play anymore. I believe it's more so she's saying, I'm not playing in this environment, and that could be sacrificing her career. So that's my whole take on it, but I wanted to at least give y'all the news and update of what went down in Music City to start the event off, because that was a pretty early start on Friday. Anything to add, Trev?
No.
All right. I believe we covered all the bases. I just wanted to at least bring that back up so that people remembered, in case you forgot, the how we got to where we are. Now, the tournament after that went off without a hitch. Well, I say without a hitch. There was the whole weather delay on Saturday. And really in the air, we were always just kind of waiting of, like, when is weather going to hit?
Yeah.
Because Wednesday night, tornado warnings all over the place. Thursday, match play got canceled due to weather, and then tornado warnings in the afternoon. And this was like a bad storm that was coming through. Friday was originally still supposed to be hitting, but ended up moving a little bit more north of Nashville, allowing play to resume as normal. Saturday, a pretty bad thunderstorm rolled through late afternoon. Sunday was just rain. So they were able to get 3 rounds off, which was very impressive from the team.
Didn't think there was going to be any rounds.
Yeah, we were, in the preview show, you can see, we were kind of like, this tournament might be a 1 round and done type situation. Because at that point, we kind of knew Friday was probably going to be able to happen, but Saturday and Sunday looked bad. So what ended up happening is on the FPO side, we had Kristen Lett. Did get confirmation. It is Kristen Lett. Kristen Lett take down Silva Saarinen in a playoff, and Holland Hanley finish in 3rd place there. So final round, actually first round, Kristen came out the gates a little bit flat, putting up just a 3 under, but then chased down the leaders with a very hot 11 under round 2 and was tied with Silva going into the final round. Silva started the round out great. She was actually able to open up a 4-stroke lead over Kristen in the first 11 holes, partially thanks to Kristen double bogey on hole 11, and maintained most of that lead, losing only 1, giving herself a 3-stroke cushion with 2 to play going into hole 17. She then threw her drive really just 2 straight on 17 through the wall, but the real mistake here was she just had to pitch out and take her par. She failed to do so, placed it basically in the one spot she couldn't have in the middle of this cluster of trees, which then led to her failing to get up and down from there. So she took a bogey. Meanwhile, Kristen was able to put her upshot to about 35-ish foot and hit a very clutch step putt to then cut the lead to 1 going into 18. Kristen then parks 18, putting the pressure back on Silva, who threw, honestly, a similar shot to Kristen's. It just didn't get the skip in. It got like a skip, cut, roll little situation. So it gives up putting her in a circle 2 putt for the win, which she threw too high, hit a tree, fell to like a 20-some foot putt. She clutched up to hit that, to be honest with you, because things were spiraling. That would have been, I would not have been surprised for Silva to have missed that putt with how 17 went and then the reaction on 18.
Yeah.
But she bangs that putt to force a playoff. They go back to hole 17, and Kristen was able to birdie it yet again in a playoff, taking the win from Silva. So that's how this all shook up with Kristen taking it down. Before we talk about Kristen, I do want to say overall, I think this was a great weekend for Silva. She was able to shoot back-to-back 7 under rounds, and then final round she still shot an 8 under, but really it was the 2 big errors on 17 in crunch time that cost her the tournament.
That's the theme that we'll get into with MPO as well, but it's like it's winning time is what matters, and when you're trying to beat good players, you have to be good in winning time. And I mean, the shot on 17 into the group of trees, like that's something I do, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, was I even paying attention to where I was throwing that disc? Like, I think she was frazzled.
I think
just was thinking about pitching out and just didn't even think about where the landing zone was.
Exactly.
Because I mean,
that's what it seemed like.
Throwing into that group of trees is borderline comical. Like it was right there.
And I think it was a situation where she was frustrated with the tee shot, and her mind was still on the tee shot.
It was just pitch out. It was just like, get up there and pitch out.
Okay, well, I just need to get up here and pitch out, and
lands, you're like, oh no.
Yeah, it was a class. We've all done.
She might have, and she might have just already moved on to the shot after, just thinking about, okay, just pitch this out, and we're gonna worry about that, and then just like, oh my, that was a huge mistake.
So that ended up being like. That cost her the tournament.
Well, the worst thing you can do to a player when you got somebody who's already charging, and Kristen is starting to make some moves on this back 9, and then you make a mistake, 2 mistakes like that, you just give them more fuel to Kristen to deliver a couple just absolute kill shots down the stretch.
Well, that's what Kristen really showed us what we'd been looking for so far this season, where she double bogeyed 11, and it seemed like, okay, this might be Silva might just cruise in here.
Felt like she would.
And then Kristen proceeded to birdie 6 of the last 7 holes. If you include the playoff, she birdied 7 of the last 8 holes, including what I think was like obviously the most clutch putt, which was that 35-foot step putt on 17 to take the 2 strokes.
35-footer, just some other player wish they could have had in a different division.
Yeah, we'll talk about MPO in a second, and so she birdied the playoff hole, secured her 3-peat at Music City Open. Very impressive there. And really, you can just I've always felt this way about Kristen, but she's just such a classy competitor, because immediately after the win, she was concerned about the younger player in Silva. Obviously, I think they're pretty close. And so she like consoled her, gave her a hug, went over, accepted her trophy. And then in the post round, she was like, obviously, I'm really excited. I want to be smiling and happy, but I feel so bad for Silva because I know how she feels right now. And like, I know she's an up-and-comer. She's got a lot of future ahead of her. She's still looking for that first win on U.S. soil, and it's only a matter of time. But it was like a funny thing because like Kristen's the one that did it to her, and then Kristen's also but I mean that's being a competitor that cares. It's like she cared enough about I'm gonna give it my all and win, and then when she did, she's like, dang, that really sucks for Silva what I just did to her.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody I could beat, anybody in my life that I could beat in that situation and like feel bad to an extent. I think here's a scenario where I would feel the young player. No, I'm not feeling bad. I'm gonna give them maybe the little like, hey, keep your chin up, you know.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
The one that I think would make me feel the worst would be. There's kind of an example of this in disc golf already. You're playing an old timer who's on his last legs, Johnny McRae, USDGC, for example, the 1 year, and you witness that. You either take him down or witness that. So that one you feel like I just took their last hurrah. Like, you know, when Tiger won the 2019 Masters, if Molinari had hung on and beat him, and you're kind of like, ooh, I think I just kind of tore down a piece of history there. That one maybe you'd feel a little like, ugh, like. But
I think the Johnny McRae USDGC collapse, I think because Will won that year, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Schustrick probably didn't feel that way simply because Johnny did it to himself. I think it's a different in this situation where it's like if Will would have hit a huge clutch putt and like,
you don't feel bad.
But,
you kind of it's a different thing. And
well, you do feel bad's really the only way to describe it, but it's not like you did something wrong.
Honestly,
because the player like Silva in this situation obviously wouldn't have wanted Kristen to let her win,
right?
Because that would have felt much worse.
But I think you feel the most weird when a player does something out like super uncharacteristic. I know another golf example. Is when Jordan Spieth won. I think this is the U.S. Open. He beat Dustin Johnson the 1 year, and Dustin Johnson had like an 8-footer for eagle to win, and then proceeded to 3-putt himself into a loss when he had a short putt for the win, and like that was like it was so uncharacteristic. Maybe not for Dustin Johnson, but for a pro golfer to 3-putt from there when 2 putts from like 8 feet gets him into a playoff. And that one, I remember Jordan Spieth being in the interview like, yeah, you just, you hate to win that way, but that's just kind of how the game goes. And like, I think if it was that, like if Silva had like a 5-foot tap in and just spat it out, like then you'd be like, ooh, but like, she threw great shots down the stretch. She really charged in and got it. So I think you have to just be, you had to be proud of that effort. At the end
Is there ever a situation where a player, like something so, okay, let's put you in a scenario. Okay. You have a 20-foot putt.
Yeah.
Or I guess in this case, you have a drop in for the win.
Yeah.
Is there ever something that could happen to a player's like 15-foot putt where they have a putt for a playoff? No. And like, is there ever something that's like so out of their control?
Yes.
That something happens that causes you to then lay the putt up and be like, we deserve to go to a playoff.
Yes, and it would have to be. I don't think it's allowed within the rules because it would have to be somebody else tampering with their shot. Even it could be the worst spit out of all human history, and I don't.
So what if it's like first scenario is like a 5-foot putt. Someone from the gallery throws a shoe, hits the disc midair.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. There's rules against that, though.
Is there?
I think that shot's getting redone.
I think it's a redo.
If it isn't, yes, then I'm laying it up.
Because like when a disc hits a gallery member, it's not a redo.
If their putt was from a certain distance to where I know they're not missing.
It's like a 10-foot putt.
Yeah. If it's a tap in and some guy threw a shoe from the gallery and knocked it, yes, I'm going to lay it up. Okay. I'm going to say that's not fair and square. But if the basket coughs it up, don't care. You don't apologize for a win.
They throw a putt from like 10 feet.
Yeah.
Hits chains, and the cage falls apart. And now the disc falls, and it would have went in the basket, but it can't now.
That's good. That's a good one.
What do you do there?
So it literally is going into the bottom of the basket.
It hits the front, like hits mid chains, and as it's falling, when it hit the chains, the basket just fell apart. It goes
like it falls down, like as if it was going to go.
It was
definitely
into the going in. You are 100% confident.
I'm gonna lay it up.
Okay,
I'm gonna lay it up.
That's good.
Yeah,
I would do the same.
I would
do the same
because like you're gonna be more beloved.
They like rebuild the basket, and then you drop in. You're like,
you're gonna be more beloved for that moment of sportsmanship than you'd ever be for winning that tournament.
For sure.
And then you still got a chance to win. If that putt's to beat me though, we're going to a playoff no matter what. I don't care if he gets punched from the crowd. if it's to beat me, I'm sorry. But if it is, we're going to that playoff.
It's kind of like, I feel like this type of thing happens in soccer sometimes. I don't know the exact situation, but
there's been a few penalties.
They'll like kick it out of bounds.
Well, in soccer, if another player gets injured, the etiquette is, so let's say we're playing against each other. You get hurt, you're laying on the ground. The etiquette is I will kick it out of bounds, but then
when you throw
get it back, we're getting the ball back.
Yeah.
Right, that's the etiquette. But
anyone ever broke it? Where I kick it out of bounds, someone throws it in. That's brutal.
Oh yeah, it's not seen too well. But there's also been cases where guys have kicked penalties, just purposely missed them because they knew the call was wrong.
Oh, that's fun.
Doesn't happen a ton though. Doesn't happen very often.
So that would have been like Adam Hamez laying up. That would have been that situation?
Yeah, it would have been like, I just knew.
I know I'm out of bounds.
He fought for the call, so not the case.
Now, one thing I do want to mention that I learned about...
convince a guy that his shot's in.
One thing I learned about Silva watching her in person is she definitely throws farther than I thought. I'm not going to say she throws far.
Robbie C would say she
throws
she throws
450. Yeah, Robbie C would say but I have to agree with him in the sense of like she throws farther than commentary and the coverage made me think she threw. Like, she has plenty of distance to compete.
I think she's just a player, and, and there was some wind out there this weekend, so it's honestly a testament to her ability. But I think she's a player who just gets the most out of her distance. She's not just going to be ripping hyzers all over the place.
Yeah.
Not many FPO players are. But, yeah, she has sneaky distance, and it was good enough to get around this course where length did help you, but this was another course where because of the OB, that distance can get you in trouble in places. But ultimately, I think her putting is very effective.
40% from Circle 2 this weekend.
Really good. So it almost kind of makes her, I'm kind of likening her to maybe like the backhand version of Owen Scott, similar type of game. Keeps it in play, makes putts.
I think that part of when I was watching her, and it was tough to know, but
She's very smooth.
I feel like Silva does this not just because of footing this weekend, but I feel like she does this all the way, is I think she prefers a standstill.
She does. Yeah.
And so I think
it helped her a lot.
I think that perception obviously will hurt her distance perception.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of times where she could run up and she decides to go standstill because it helps her timing or whatever. She's just more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I think that gives you a perception if she doesn't throw very far. But when she would stand up and rip, I mean, Evelina was always out driving her.
Oh, sure.
But it wasn't by as much as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I also learned that I would 100% trade my forehand for Evelina's right now.
Yeah, she crushes. I will say this. I do think Silva, I think she has what it takes because she can putt. There may be some holes in the game. The forehand isn't really, super there, but I do think that she's going to win multiple times in the next few years. Like, she's good.
For sure. Now, over on MPO, the weather affected it quite a bit more than FPO as their second round had to be cut early and then finished at 8 a.m. on Sunday, so a lot of the top players had to play basically a round and a half. It was less than a round and a half, but close, on Sunday. So going into the final round, you had Paul Macbeth and Austin Turner tied for the lead.
Sneaky
Fun fact
Austin
about
Turner.
Austin, I saw that his best Pro Tour finish was 4th at the 2017 Utah Open.
Yeah, well, he's been sneaky. He had kind of a weird hiatus from tour. He had an injury. I think it was actually to his right arm, but he was in a sling. He still can't do much. And he's always had mega talent, and he's actually kind of the hope for my bloodline because my son is a lefty. So I really need this lefty
You
narrative.
prefer Austin Turner over Chris Clemens, lefty?
I prefer whoever is going to get a chance to win tournaments.
I think that I think that Chris Clemens historically has been the best lefty, but I think Austin Turner has more potential.
Well, I think he has a better backhand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but no, he's been great, and it was really fun to watch him on this. This lead card was a great time.
It was fantastic. So going into the final round, like I said,
was just on a mission.
You had Paul and Austin tied for the lead. Paul came out the gates hot, birdieing the first 6 holes to open up a lead on Austin, but Nicklaus kept pace with him.
Yeah.
And then, as you just mentioned, as the round went on, Gannon started to get more and more into the conversation as he was tearing up the course from the third card.
I mean, he just wasn't missing anything.
For sure.
Insane.
So then coming down the home stretch, you had Paul, Austin, Gannon, and Nicklaus jockeying for position. They were really just seeing who was going to be the first to pull themselves ahead or budge or whatever. The big separator happened on hole 15. So
bad.
Around this time, actually, it might have been at this moment, but it was pretty close. You had Gannon on 18 with a chance if he birdied to get into the clubhouse at 25 under, which would have kept putting immense pressure on the lead card.
Yeah.
Instead, a pretty shocking mistake. He misread the wind. I think it was while they were on 15. He misread the wind or something and flipped his drive. I think he was trying to get a pushing hyzer, and it flipped all the way over and cruised way OB early. So it forced him to try to throw in, but really forced a bogey, which it didn't fully take him out of it at that point, but it did. Overall.
Yeah. He had a little chance to crawl back into it. Yeah, the 15 was a weird one because I had just watched this hole the day before, and I was following Casey White, who I believe had shot or tied the course record this day, Presnell, Silas Selects, and Colbert Allen's card. And I was really the only one watching them. They were on kind of a random card, so I was like right behind the tee and got to like hear them talking about the hole. And it was kind of gimmicky when you played the forehand because, Presnell, of course, steps up and throwing turnover backhand.
Yeah.
But everybody else is trying to play that wide forehand, and they were kind of all like, I think Casey White had said he had just hit into the tree, the big tree that kind of guards it every single day. But you really did have to just kind of put it out there and hope to sneak through. And so I think what really happened is you have Antela takes it a little more inside and gets shot down. And I think Paul's thought process is like, let me try to really make sure I get around this and give it a chance to get around the tree. And he just overdid it. And it was a fatal mistake.
Coverage, they were talking, they couldn't tell if he threw it at the height he wanted and overturned it, or if he was trying to throw it that much turn and give it higher to have more time to come back.
Yeah, I think he just overdid it.
Either way, he goes OB.
And it was just, it's just disastrous. Like that. This is the thing, and about Paul lately. Like he's playing such a solid tournament, and I'll agree with this. I have a fun. I can bring up. Let's finish talking about it, and I have like a fun. The Paul fans are still alive segment here because I have a lot of replies on my
nice.
Twitter. But at the end of the day, like this is just a mistake that you just don't make when you're gonna win at the highest level. Like you cannot. This is an easy par 3 in the sense that if you don't birdie it, you're going to make par. You just have to keep the disc in balance.
Well, that's what it seemed based on everyone's drive. It seemed like Paul was going to lose one stroke. It seemed like, okay, bad mistake, not detrimental.
Right.
And then Nicklaus steps up and bangs a 65-footer and
Nicklaus is
ran it
dangerous,
in.
Man. Yep, such a good putt. He's that little wrist pop spin.
Yeah,
makes everybody
wasn't
believe
even a step putt.
It makes everybody believe they can just frisbee toss that thing in there.
It was crazy. Elevated basket, 65-footer.
So clutch.
Took 2 on Paul and also opened up a 2-stroke lead on Austin. So then Paul and Austin.
Paul actually, one of his better runs late in this round was trying to save that. Like he put it on a money line. It just had to stay up, but he hit just beneath. I thought he was going to make it.
Yeah. So then they all birdie hole 16, and Nicklaus,
which is the most ridiculous dumb hole ever.
Yeah, it's pretty pointless.
They were literally on coverage calling it the field work hole, and it's just the most stock.
Well, what's funny is so last year hole 16 and hole 1 were combined essentially. So you were throwing hole 16's shot into that little landing zone, and then you were attacking hole 1's green from there. And it was a pretty good 2-shot par 4.
Better.
But I do like where hole 1 where it started. I didn't like it as a starting hole, but the flow of the course made a little bit more sense, so I get why they made the change, but regardless, that doesn't matter. Hole 16 was basically like, you better birdie it because everyone else is going to, and they all did. 17, Nicklaus ends up making a similar mistake to Silva. He throws it 2 straight. He pitches out. He's going to take a par. So then Paul and Austin both give themselves birdie looks.
Well, and the funny thing was, too, like when he first threw in there, first of all, shout out the boy Grant Zellner. Absolutely killing it on the course because
this commentary team was one of my favorites all year.
I agree.
Brian, Charlie, Grant, loved them.
Nicklaus throws in there, he's kind of addressing the window, and then he throws out like, I think something along the lines of like, we saw a wind shift right as they get up to tee coming out of the northwest, and it really got like he just like broke down how everybody's drives ended up where they did so beautifully and eloquently. I was like, Grant, dude. He's stepping he's stepping into the zone a little bit. But what was crazy was when he first threw in there, they were like, oh, he'll at least be able to pitch forward and it'll be a very easy par. But then he gets there and he had to end up pitching out to the side or really just out of there with the forehand.
Yeah.
And he honestly was clutch just to get up and down.
Yeah, so he puts it where he's getting up and down. Paul and Austin both have outside the circle looks for their birdie, which would have cut it to 1 with 1 to play.
Yeah.
Very much still a ball game. When Paul stepped up, this was a putt that with how Paul had been playing all weekend, I felt this is a 100% make.
I didn't.
And
I saw him standing over it, and there's just something in the air. When he stands over these 35-footers, you just used to think they were guarantees. It's the way I feel about Gannon Burr now is like how I used to feel about Paul when he steps up to those putts where you're like, it's just a guaranteed make. It just looked shaky to me. I didn't think he was going to make it for a second.
You're right. And it was just never on line.
Sailed it.
He sailed it. It was high of the basket from the second it left his hand.
Because I think when you miss a putt like that with a bad sail, that says to me because he's struggled with the low miss a lot in these last.
That's
few
all
years.
he was thinking about.
So that says to me all he's thinking is don't miss low when you need to be visualizing that putt going into the basket.
Yeah.
And like I'm not trying to tell Paul McBeth how to putt, obviously, but that's just what I pick up on is like I feel like all he was saying to himself is don't miss low, and then just sailed it.
Yeah. And then Austin had a putt. Austin had a putt as well. It was funny because the commentary team at this point, I think, kind of forgot Austin was equally as in it as Paul.
And I was like, hey, he just needs to make this to be within one.
They were saying like, oh, that's going to make Nicklaus's hole a lot more stress-free. And I was like, Austin has a putt right here. Yeah. But then Austin ended up hitting cage, I believe. So then Nicklaus had 2 strokes going into 18, which 18 is a pretty stress-free par, all intents and purposes.
Yeah, I say 18 because, immediately Brody texts us is like, oh, man, it's too bad 18 is such a bummer. And I agree. When you're looking for a 2-stroke swing, it's not a good hole. I do think it is really fun in the tied or 1-stroke situation because it's not an easy birdie. But yeah, in a 2-stroke swing situation, which I do think should be more on the table for hole 18, it was, not a factor.
Because the 2-stroke swing happened, but the only reason it happened is Paul and Austin had to try to ace it.
Exactly.
And so Paul went OB early, same mistake as Gannon. But like, if it was a different situation where they could have tried to birdie it, I think they would have probably chosen a different shot. Or if Nicklaus had to try to birdie, but
it changes everything. It makes him throw a harder shot off the tee.
But he was able to just lay up and tap out for his second win of the year. And he was able to add a pretty sick guitar to his now growing American Country Museum collection alongside his cowboy hats. Dude. So this is the Finnish cowboy.
Hot seat, Simon Lazard.
The Finnish cowboy. That is tough. Simon was not able to do the three-peat. Kristen was waiting for him. Didn't happen yet. Simon
where did he end up? Did he even make that?
In 28.
Okay,
he made the cut. But he finished 16 strokes out the lead.
Nicklaus.
I didn't ever say the finishing position. So Nicklaus won. Gannon and Austin ended in a tie for second, and Paul's double bogey dropped him down to fourth.
Yeah, Nicklaus. He's dangerous, man. He's dangerous.
He's so good.
I would say there's almost a guarantee that he wins a major this year. Like I think on the list of guys who I think are going to win a major this year, you'd have to put him and Gannon almost side by side in my mind of like if I had to give the best odds, and especially because there's gonna be 2 of them in Europe.
Yeah.
So I really like him this year.
Our first major is only like 20 some days away.
I know.
Champions Cup.
Yeah. It's kind of exciting.
I'm excited because President's Cup. Is it bad that I'm more excited for President's Cup than Champions Cup?
I'm kind of glad you are. That means maybe that it's gaining a little traction.
Well, I'm excited for the President's Cup on U.S. soil.
Yeah, I am too. I hope there's people there.
I'm hoping it lives up to the potential. But Champions Cup this year is obviously just going to be a weird one because it's not the tournament.
This is a weird calendar year of majors, man.
We still have USDGC.
We'll always have USDGC.
And I don't hate Worlds being over there at all. I just don't like their back-to-back majors being
correct
within like a week and a half of each other.
10 days, I think.
10 days. I don't like that.
Yeah, to be clear, I have no problem with the majors being over there.
Because this is what's going to be interesting for this year's storyline is with those 2 majors so close together, if a player gets hot, there's a very good chance they win both.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like a weird
it's good year to pad those stats.
Yeah, but very exciting tournament, really in both MPO and FPO. Music City Open definitely delivered. It's going to be interesting to continue to watch Austin Turner. I don't think this was a fluke of a breakout tournament for him. He's been around for a while, and he's always kind of been very solid. He just kind of had everything working for him this week. He couldn't quite
break down his season for me so far. Where's
That's
he
a good
been
point. Let's look it up.
Year?
Austin Turner this year so far has went 9th at the Supreme Flight Open, 30th at Waco, 24th at Open
good.
At Austin, and then just finished with a second place here.
It's a great start.
So it's a good start to the season.
Great start.
For sure. So yeah, that's Music City. Anything else you want to touch on from Music City?
No, I'm honestly just so happy that we got a tournament, a pretty good tournament in there. I thought this was going to either be canceled or be one of those ones where like I really don't like having events on the schedule where it's like, oh, we played 1.5 rounds and 2 people got the win.
Yeah,
and like I it's just that's frustrating, and there's so much work that goes into it. And when you're on the grounds, you see that. Shout out to everybody who came and said hi to us. We loved getting to see everybody on the grounds, and we'll hopefully be at some other Pro Tour events in the future, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, now Manufacturers Cup update. Discmania was able to earn the most points for the second consecutive week.
Wow, this got a little more interesting.
They were led by Nicklaus and Gannon. Again, the reason this is getting interesting is because
the limits
where each manufacturer fields a team. Which I know some people have been saying they don't agree with
you got to do something to make it close.
Well, because again, if not, it's just the team with the deepest pockets and the biggest team's going to win. Right. This at least makes it competitive.
And it'll readjust. Like, yes, James has had a really good season. Like, he'll probably be on the next
James and Austin Turner might probably be in the top for Discraft. But
it's so hard.
It's because I mean, you had Adam James and Ezra Aderhold came in the top 10, neither counting for Discraft.
Ezra Robinson.
No, Aderhold. He finished in 10th.
Oh, I didn't see. I can't read that from here.
Ezra Aderhold, Adam James, and Austin Turner all came in the top 10, but all do not score points for Discraft because of where they stand on Discraft's lineup. So Nicholas Antela, Gannon Burr, that one too, as well as Cadence Burridge and Ella Hansen.
Shout out Cadence Burridge.
All adding points for Discmania. So they were able to earn 56.5 points, gaining them 17 points on Discraft, cutting into the lead a little bit. Latitude 64 was also able to jump Innova into third place because you had Kristen Wynn and Isaac Robinson come in fifth, so it was a pretty big weekend for them points-wise. Innova stays in fourth, MVP's in fifth, DGA sixth, Dynamic seventh, Lone Star is still in eighth, Open Bags in ninth, and Prodigy's in 10th. So
Haley King can start contributing to the Open Bag team now that that's been confirmed.
That's a great point. I didn't even think about that this weekend.
Oh, and did she count?
She did count for Open Bag.
Okay,
yeah,
she got on top of things.
She got half a point for the Open Bag.
Open Bag.
I forgot to even think about that. This is Haley King's debut weekend.
She just sneaky kind of dropped that on Instagram when it one of her last posts. She was just like, "Yeah, I'm going Open Bag this year. That's how I started playing the game." And it's like, okay, cool.
There you have it.
I'm imagining it's just a combo of Innova and Discraft.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, it's time for the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia, right after these messages.
All right, y'all. Trevor's Trivia today is presented
by
Lightspeed Disc Golf. Got to give them a quick shout out. I actually got to meet the Lightspeed guys at the tournament we were just
Music
at.
City.
They were right next to us, and we got 3 discs they sent in from us. They're a newer disc manufacturer on the block, and they specialize in glow plastic. That's what they got here. The Daybreak, the Lumen. All you Severance fans will love that one. And the Ember, putter mid driver, all on the overstable side.
I don't think they only make glow. I think they only
specialize, but I guess it specializes in it is their specialty. I guess that's the right way to put it. How do you say it, when it's something that they are really good at, it's the best, their thing that they're kind of pushing, but it's not the only thing?
Specialized, I think would be right.
Yeah, but
I just didn't want people to think they only did glow. Anyways, carry on.
Okay.
Tell us about the molds.
So 3 molds here that they sent to us. Got to throw them all nice and overstable. So the Ember, the putter, this one, beadless in the hand, very comfortable, and this one is straight with a good finish at the end. The mid range, this Daybreaker, sneaky because it's beadless and flat. It looks overstable, but not it's insanely overstable, super reliable. And then the Lumen, really unique feel on this one. It kind of reminds me of the Cookie from Clash when I first felt it, but it's got a little more stability to it. But don't let its look and feel fool you. It's not.
It feels like it would be like a tilt.
Yeah,
but
it's not uselessly overstable at all. It has good glide to it. So some great molds and really nice tacky feeling plastic.
And the glow on these is unreal.
Yeah,
very good.
Yes, they do incredible glow stuff. So
Lightspeed Disc, check them out.
Yeah, check them
Jinx. All right, Trev, what do you got for us today? And by for us, I mean for me.
Okay, I've got a fun one today. I'm actually excited about this. Normally, I'm not. I'm just kidding.
Normally, he dreads this.
So Statmando has something called the 10-30-30 Club. Okay, this is the only players. So there's 65 players in this club, and these are players who have 30% of their career rated rounds at or above 10-30 rated, minimum of 30 rounds played.
Okay, that's fun.
So your goal today is going to be, I'm going to just give you an example. So the range of percentages, so you have to have the 30%, obviously goes all the way down to 30.09.
Okay.
All the way up to the highest being at 66.39.
Daggone.
Your goal is to guess 10 names and get your average number to be above 50%. So you're trying to guess the higher range people.
Okay.
To give you an example, if you were to guess the perfect 10, you'd be at 57%. So you don't have a ton of wiggle room, but you can guess a few that are not in the top 10, and you can still do it. You just have to really make sure you get the top ones.
Okay.
So you get 10 picks.
Gannon Burr.
Okay, so Gannon Burr comes in at 53.29. So that's a good pick.
I mean, you got to go Paul Macbeth.
Paul Macbeth is second on the list at 65.87.
Yeah. Second on the list is actually kind of surprising. I feel like you got to go Ricky Wysocki.
Number 1, 66.39.
Okay, so that's 3. I have to pick 10 players.
10 players.
Am I allowed to look at the Disc Golf Pro Tour standings or no?
No.
Okay, so just off the dome.
And obviously, like I said, some of these players have a lot more rounds than others.
I feel like I'm gonna want
from any time.
I feel like I'm gonna want players from the more modern era because ratings have gotten higher.
Okay.
And I want players I feel like that haven't been around that long.
Okay.
Because then you have a lot of history. So unless they've been dominant with like Ricky, Paul. So I'm gonna go with. Man, this is tough. Give me Isaac Robinson.
Isaac Robinson comes in at 44.34.
I like that. Okay. That one tells me a lot.
That was your third pick?
That was my fourth.
Fourth pick. Yeah.
Who do I take? Give me... this is tough. Give me Chris Dickerson.
Third on the list.
Yeah.
57.99.
I feel like he's never way above it, but I feel like he's just consistently there.
It's a great pick. It's a good thought process.
I need more players like that. Calvin Heimberg,
also pretty high on the list. 48.58.
Okay. So that's my sixth pick?
That was your sixth pick.
I need 4 more.
Yes. Doing well so far. I'd say you're comfortably in the safe zone right now.
Man.
All it takes is one. Drop you off the face of the earth.
This is tough because I need really consistent players.
There's only so many of them.
These are only tour rounds. These are all rounds.
These are all rounds.
It's terrifying. You know what? Give it to me. Ezra Robinson.
Ezra Robinson.
I hate
comes
that.
in at 39.5.
Okay. That's not detrimental.
That is pretty detrimental.
Is it?
You definitely need to
I thought there was only
really
10 players
here.
In the 10-30-30 club.
There's 65 players.
Oh, I'm just trying to guess 10. Understood.
You're trying to guess 10.
Okay.
You're still missing 1, 2, 3, 4 in the top 10, I believe.
Okay, and I have 3 more picks?
Yeah.
Oh man. Simon Lazat's terrifying. I can't go with him. Because he could be an incredibly good pick, but he's played disc golf for so long.
Yes.
And he played when he was a kid. I feel like I got to get him out of there. Man, who else do I have? Oh, boy. I picked Paul. I picked Ricky. Picked Calvin. I feel like I'm missing a, really good player. I feel like I'm missing an obvious one somehow.
Well.
You know what? I don't know if I like this pick, but I'm going to do it. Niklas Antila.
Okay, Antila is at 48.23.
Okay, that's not terrible.
Not bad.
I have 2 more picks.
These are big picks right here. There's still 2 or 1. I can't remember if you guessed this other one, but there's at least 1 name on here that would really help you out.
Ooh. Oh, but is he high enough rated? He's so consistent, but is he high enough rated? Give me Mr. Consistent for a long time. Give me Nate Sexton.
Ooh. 38.66.
At least he's in the club.
You basically I'm sure you have to get one of that. There's still I
have 1 more player left.
I think there's still 1, 2, 3 names over 50%. And you
really?
Definitely need one. One of them is pretty surprising. 2 of them I just don't think you would necessarily think right away, but they are really good players. Well, they're all really good players.
Obviously, yeah.
I think they've all but one of them won a major. There's another name on here. Yeah.
Okay, give me sleeper Kyle Klein.
Kyle Klein was the guy you needed. He was the highest one left, 56.41.
Okay. Wow, good on Kyle.
So, well, he just hasn't been around a long time. He's been playing at a high level. So, Klima was 54.43.
Really?
Simon was 53.32.
Simon was terrifying.
And then your next best after that was Nate Doss at 48.98.
I ignored all the old players. I was just too scared of the older players.
All right, let's see. So, we got them all in here. We're going to divide this by 10. 51.9. You did it.
I did it.
Well done.
All
that
right.
was tough. Few curveballs in there. the lowest on the list is Philo Brathwaite, 30.09.
Really?
I mean, it's like Ty Love is on this list, but he only has like 87 rounds. Like Emerson Keith is in this club. It's really like good disc golfers are on this list. It's just a matter of how high up the list you are.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
Well done.
Pick'em versus Tour Life update.
How did we do?
We lost more points. We lost 16 points this week.
How do we keep losing so many points?
Well, they picked Paul McBeth and Ezra Robinson and Silva Sarnen. So we actually beat them in MPO because we had Gannon Burr. So we beat them by 1.5 points. But our Haley King 0.5 versus Silva Sarnen 18.
So that was really what got
it. It was Haley versus Silva.
Not taking Silva there was interesting, but at least Haley King wasn't a disaster.
Yeah, she came in 10th. So we earned 42 points this week. They earned 58, bringing their season total up to 134, and ours up to 78.8.
The comeback is going to happen.
Look, this is realistically, we're going to FPO, we're always going to be close because we're always going to pick Kristen and 1 or 2. MPO, there's going to be a week that someone blanks and the other team scores like 30 some points.
We just have to be on the right side. Getting aggressive.
We just have to start being on the right side of history there.
Love it.
So there you go. What's funny is Tour Life actually would have beat us by more if it wasn't for Paul trying to ace hole 18 because he would have been able to stay. He might have actually been up in solo second.
What's really frustrating
but dropped
too
to fourth.
Is they swapped in. They swapped their picks like last second. Like I don't think they were going to take
Edwin broke it down for me.
I think they were going to take Gannon as well.
They swapped that last second, and I think they swapped their FPO last second. Yeah. I can read you what Edwin.
He said. I think he said originally they had the identical picks to us, which is like
Edwin. He sent me their.
I got to give a little shout out to our guy Edwin Stats, who the disc golf betting lines.
We're about to talk about that in a second.
Okay. Well, Edwin, his most beloved pick was Nicholas Antela over 8.5 plays, and he won.
Yeah. Well, but Edwin did solid. Edwin had a solid weekend. Personally,
is that what he said?
I think Silas told us that he had a pretty solid weekend.
Okay,
so
that's good.
But he was showing us his stats, and he's like obviously there's a lot of variability
the data
here.
Hated
he's like, but the data, Nicholas Antela's average finish was like 30th or something, and then Nicholas won, which was very funny. So he said we would have had the same FPO picks, but we switched from Silva to Haley last second, which screwed us. MPO, we picked identical to Tour Life until Yuli said he felt good about McBeth. So they changed Gannon and Rathbun to McBeth and Ezra.
And that was big.
And that was the big. And then the last hole changed a lot. McBeth was in solo second. Austin Turner was in third. And we had Gannon getting only 4th place points. Then McBeth went for the ace. Threw out of bounds. We couldn't get up and down. Dropping him to 4th.
Worse.
Austin Turner, who had an 18-footer for solo second, bricked it, bringing him into a tie for second with Gannon. Therefore, Gannon, who finished 2 cards earlier, moved up 2 spots due to 2 missed circle 1 putts.
I feel like Paul has to have the belief to some degree that since the holy shot happened to him, like one of these days he's going to get retribution. Like
probably.
If he keeps going for those heroics, I would like that's what you do in that situation, but like one of them's going to go.
Edwin also provided us the best possible teams this week. So the best this week would have been $4 Nicholas Antela, $1 Austin Turner, $4 Paul McBeth, which would have got you 53.5 points in MPO.
I mean, dollar Austin Turner would have been crazy.
FPO best possible, which was almost what Tour Life picked, was Kristen for 7, 2 for Silva, $1 Cadence Burge.
Cadence, yeah.
And would have got you 52 points.
Crazy.
So we could have got 105 points this week. So that's what I'm saying. We just have to have a week where we go perfect and we'll be dominating them.
Yeah, we would have gained points.
So maybe Kansas City wide open is our week. But this was the first week of betting in disc golf. So the Pro Tour announced the launch of betting, which was available in DraftKings in certain states, and then Underdog Fantasy and Disc Golf Pacific Hold My Bag in most states. DraftKings going into the week seemed like it was just going to be odds to win, whereas Underdog was picking better or worse based on finishing place. I believe DraftKings ended up pulling their lines after
That's what we heard. We don't have it available in our state.
We don't have it available, and so I saw where I believe it was Charlie Eisenhood said somewhere where that DraftKings pulled the line after the Kristen odds to win, which is getting hammered. Everyone thought, good on you.
I would say I think
good
also
picks.
the Simon did as well.
Simon got hammered.
So they probably made their money back on that one.
So we don't know exactly what went down with DraftKings, but Underdog Fantasy is basically, if you remember Prize Picks a few years ago, Prize Picks was doing better or worse based on that round, like how players were going to score that round, and that's what really got them in trouble. Better or worse finishing place, I would imagine Underdog did pretty solid because it was like...
Not on this guy.
I had 2 flex picks and both of mine hit, but it was like if I wouldn't have flexed them, I would have lost both.
Yeah.
So I think that they definitely.
It's a much more. There's maximum bets of like $100. It's a lot more conservative.
And it also seems that underdog is like you put it all into a pool. So I don't know if they're just taking a percentage where it's like I don't know. But anyways, thoughts on betting in disc golf in general and what you think it could do for the sport, what it could do growth for the sport wise, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm excited about. I mean, I had fun with it this past weekend. Won a few bets. It was a good time. It's I think it's cool. It puts disc golf like on a larger stage, and I'm excited to see. I hope it could just get more eyeballs on the sport. You know, people see it on those platforms and be drawn to like, hey, you know, if you place a bet, let's watch. You know, maybe hey, let's go buy a Disc Golf Network subscription so I can track this bet. So I think that's exciting, and I hope it can generate some income for the tour as well. I think that was at the end of the day, like. They just wanted to lock all this down and get that done. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be something that I'll probably enjoy throwing in here and there this season. And, yeah, I don't think it can do wrong to the Pro Tour. It more so the only negative implications would be on the player side with their policies and if they can get in trouble or if there's unnecessary pressure on the players. Like, that's really the issues that could arise.
Well, it is going to be interesting. Well, first, let me talk to the growth of the sports side. I think that monetarily wise, I don't fully know how, you know, the tours / like the NBA or whatever makes money off of gambling. I don't know if there's like, I don't know the trickle down effect. I'm sure there is some type of revenue generated from there being gambling. I think that the big thing is the eyeballs on the sport as this gets like if it continues on DraftKings, if it gets into like FanDuel or something like that. I mean, heck, Brody had like a free bonus bet on ESPN Bet or something this weekend, and when he was looking, and he just like was like, I just want to throw this bonus bet on something, and ended up like there was the Mavericks game was on ESPN Bet, they had it where you could watch it live in the app, and so like I don't know if that's a future with the Pro Tour, if that's something the Pro Tour would even consider, because obviously that'd be kind of going away from DGN, but I think that could obviously bring in revenue and more eyeballs. But in general, I mean, people bet on random stuff, so people might stumble on disc golf. It is a little hard that you have to stumble on disc golf and then go buy a DGN subscription, but I'm sure there's some type of revenue incentive there. There's also advertising potential where now like Underdog or DraftKings could become like the officials blah 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 of the Pro Tour, and like that might be some type of partnership where the DraftKings might like sponsor a tournament or something. Who knows? There's obviously that revenue, but I think the big thing is more audience engagement, because now all of a sudden Simon Lizotte being in 20th place, obviously if I'm a Simon fan, I cared about that. But now if I took him an underdog to finish worse than 10.5,
I think you will
I start to care a lot more about where someone's at down the leaderboard, and it creates a more engaging interaction for current fans.
You're going to see live disc golf numbers go up. I think you will. If this catches on, and maybe right now it's only the live disc golf fans that are really interacting with it, but I think if it catches on more, you will see more people tuning in.
Well, what's also going to be interesting is, let's say, I don't know what Paul's line was. It might have been 5.5 this weekend.
Because, for example,
but imagine if Paul's line was 3.5.
He got as low as 4.5, so he almost slunk out.
But I'm saying, imagine if he was 3.5. Or Austin Turner or something. But like if Paul's 3.5 and Paul's obviously going for the win, and his OB shot and then missed putt, he slips to 4. Yeah. Well, now players care about that way more than before. It was just like Paul's just going for the win. So what I do think is going to be interesting is how that affects the players in regards to fans now care about something far more than just their finishing place.
Yeah.
Where they might be getting DMs or whatever from like.
Yeah, they're. Well, for example, college basketball just put on the Crown, this new invitational tournament, and
replaced the NIT, right? Basically.
Well, here's the problem: that was their goal, but they couldn't get it straightened up with the sports books and where they were hosting in Vegas, and you weren't able to bet on it, and so their viewership tanked.
Fascinating.
Because people were like, well, we can bet the NIT, so like that, because like when you talk about college basketball, especially when it's really the sideshow. Most people are going to get involved with the people that have money on the line. And so, it just tanked because nobody could bet on it.
Interesting. But if you do end up, sign up for Underdog or DraftKings, bet within your means. Please treat this as I am paying.
Don't think you can beat the system.
I am paying $5 to enjoy the tournament more this weekend. I'm paying $5, not I'm going to bet $100 because I could win $750 because I know what I'm doing. The lines being finishing places, it's Prize Picks. I get it. Prize Picks, they were doing sometimes like the score for this course and they didn't realize the weather or the course had changed, and there were some lines that were just like, what does this do? Like, this is free money.
These lines ended up being very good.
Yeah, so this, please hear me. Treat this as I am paying to enjoy this weekend more. If you're in a position to do so, do not put money you need into this by any means. But I think that it could be good overall for the Pro Tour and for disc golf in that it does engage people, because like I, for instance, had like Calvin Heimberg worse and Simon Lizotte worse, and I had Chris Dickerson better. And so all of a sudden, I'm caring about stuff down the leaderboard almost more than I'm caring about the winner, because it affects me directly a little bit more. So I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff with it, and I think that overall, I know there was a lot of mixed reviews from fans in the fan perception with the Pro Tour, but I understand, like, I think another thing with the Pro Tour is, like, this was probably going to happen, so it's better for it to be in control of the Pro Tour versus it just happened outside of it.
Sure.
So, all right. That's going to wrap up all of that. Let's try to crack out our top 10 now with one more event under the belt. I think the big thing is Niklas Antila needs to go number 1. 2 wins so far.
Yeah. I agree.
He, after MCO, is this 2025? It is 2025. How is Niklas Antila not higher? It is interesting. He's 4th on the list with the Disc Golf Pro Tour overall standing.
He took a 45th.
The 45th start, but I think we're at about the spot where Supreme Flight's kind of off our radar now. We're getting close to off our radar.
Yeah.
That's kind of months ago.
It's definitely more of an afterthought.
But Niklas, back-to-back first places.
Yeah,
Open at Austin, Music City, Niklas Antila, welcome to number 1, buddy.
Well, and the guy we're probably going to bring in here is Austin Turner, we were just talking about.
Austin Turner probably needs to get in the top 10. I think Gannon Burr might have to move up. He's number 1 overall in the standings.
He's been very good.
If we ignore Supreme Flight, he went 5th, 3rd, 2nd. So no win in that stretch.
Yeah.
But I think he's been very solid.
I think at this point you should probably put him at 2, Hammonds at 3.
I agree. And I think Ezra Robinson falling to 4 also fits, mainly because Ezra won Supreme Flight since he's been very solid, 19th, 4th, 8th. But I think he's got to slip a little bit.
Kyle didn't play. If you look at, and Evan Smith is also somebody who's been.
I think Austin Turner, I would agree. Well, where's Austin's in 10th right now?
Right.
So let's look at the bottom of ours. Simon Lizotte probably needs to fall out.
We might have to address the Ricky situation as well.
Ricky came in 24th.
Yeah,
so if we're ignoring Supreme Flight, he went 38th, 7th, 24th. Simon ignoring Supreme Flight went 2nd, 55th, 28th. So I think both of them are out, and we need to bring in Austin Turner and Evan Smith.
I would agree.
Or we might have to bring in Austin Turner and Isaac Robinson. Well, I think actually Evan Smith earned his spot. He came in tied 3rd at Waco, 22nd at Open at Austin, 7th at MCO.
Yeah.
So Evan Smith, welcome into 9th place for right now.
Paul probably might have to jump Calvin as well.
Well, now let's look, because what we're looking at here is if we're kind of ignoring Supreme Flight.
It's going to be really funny when it just ends up being the exact same thing as the standings.
Well, if we kind of ignore Supreme Flight, you have...
I guess it can't be.
I guess we should be looking at Isaac Robinson versus Austin Turner. So you have Isaac, if we ignore Supreme Flight, because they both played solid at Supreme Flight. Austin was 9th, Isaac was 15th. But since then, 30th and 32nd at Waco. Then Austin came 24th at Open at Austin. Isaac came 10th. And then Austin came 2nd. Isaac came 5th at MCO.
Pretty comparable.
What are you feeling there?
I think they're like a tie, and you give tie to the most recent. So
we go Austin. So we go Austin Turner, 10th. Okay, so now we're looking at, what did Anthony Barella do this weekend?
He was
20th.
Yeah, he was meh.
So he probably needs a slide. Calvin came in 13th. So does Paul jump both of them with his 4th place finish? Paul's went 11th, 7th, 4th. AB's went 11th, 5th, 20th. Calvin's went 5th, 10th, 13th.
Yeah, I think he does.
I think Paul jumps both of them.
Yeah, and I think that might be where it can sit.
Because Kyle Klein didn't play, so I don't think we can really jump Paul over there.
I don't think you need to slide him.
Okay, well, it's definitely, we have a little bit different than the Pro Tour at this point. Niklas, Gannon, Adam, Ezra, Kyle, Paul, AB, Calvin, Evan, Austin. Yeah. And the Pro Tour, which is basically similar 10, but switched around.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it's going to be at this point.
It's early in the year.
Events on the schedule.
Now, as far as FPO goes, we had Silva Saarinen in 5th, Holland 1st, Kristen 2nd. I think Kristen probably might need to jump Holland. Holland came in 3rd. Here,
they were probably close already, and Kristen with the win.
Kristen has 2 wins. Yeah. Holland has 1.
Yeah.
I think we gotta jump. Kristen's went first, second, first to start the year, and in that time period, Holland's went second, first, third.
Yeah,
so I think Kristen.
Hall can fit in right behind though.
Yeah, I think we go there, and then we got to look at Silva because now we have Kristen, Holland, Ella, Own, Silva.
Yeah.
Silva's in this went 13th, 4th, 2nd. That 13th kind of kills her at Waco there because Ella went 4th, 9th, 7th.
Yeah, I think she can probably still jump her with 2 better finishes.
Own
in a row.
6th, 3rd, 12th. So Own definitely needs to go to 5th. So Silva definitely jumps Own. Do we think Silva jumps
think she
Ella?
Does.
Back-to-back better finishes?
Yeah.
Okay, so we go Silva jumps, and then we got to see, does Own stay in the top 5 is the next question we got to look at here. I think Ella's comfy there. Evelina's went 14th, 9th, 4th. Owns went 6th, 3rd, 12th. Other player, Cat Merch, 10th, 9th, 8th. Own that top 3 really helps her there.
Yeah, I don't think we can move that.
Yeah, the only other, because Missy,
she
that 23rd.
Earth this week, she should have been in contention.
Yeah, I think we leave it here.
Yeah.
I like this. So FPO, we have Kristen Lett, Holland Hanley, Silva Sarnen, Ella Hansen, Owen Scoggins. There we go.
Good stuff. Things haven't gotten too chaotic yet.
Yeah. All right, time to wrap up the show. Con, shake your bonbons. Connor, we're going to do Silas Selects.
All right.
We're going to sub in Connor here so we can get a Silas Selects going. Oh, you don't have your mic on?
No, I don't.
Okay, so Connor's going to come over here and get in our mic.
This is kind of fun.
I'm going to say, give me a Discmania. Give me a CD1.
I want T-Bird.
Yeah, but what do you guys guess? Just kidding. I'm going to go with, I think it's an Octane.
All right, I guess they're in.
CD1 T-Bird Octane.
I really feel like I might be right here. Dude, Silas is terrified.
No, he's not, bro.
Dang it.
Voodoo from Gateway Discs. Silas.
Wow, almost right at you as well.
Trevor, that's Connor. That's a new disc.
That was a new disc.
Not anymore.
Yeah, now we had to put it in our U section. So not only did we lose Silas Selects, we also just
like
lost
$10
like $10
of
of revenue. Sick, Con. Great addition to the show.
Logged on here, made a bad joke, and then broke a disc.
Wow. 1-2.
We're going to have to whatnot that.
Well, ladies and gents, there you have it. No tournament this weekend. Off weekend. We'll be back next weekend.
So we're all going to go into hibernation.
With Kansas City. There might be a Go Throw event, but we'll talk some disc golf next week on Monday, and then we have the Kansas City Wide Open coming, and a major is coming very, very soon. We'll talk to you then.